Does your toilet leak from the base? In this video, you'll learn to remove the toilet, replace the wax ring, and reinstall the toilet. Along the way, you'll learn a few plumber's tricks to make the job easier, cleaner, and quicker. All you'll need is a wax ring, large bucket of water, a paper coffee cup, a new plastic garbage bag, and a few wrenches. To start, here's how to remove the toilet. First, turn off the water supply to the toilet. Wrap a small rag around the base to catch any drops from the hose and undo the supply line by turning counterclockwise with a crescent wrench or a 15mm wrench. Remove the toilet tank lid and store safely. Flush the toilet to empty the tank and hold the handle down to drain all the water possible. If you have a detachable tank, then you want to make sure that it's not loose and going to leak when you move it. And so there are some screws, 2 screws, one on either side at the bottom, and you could tighten those up if they need it. Now here's the first cool plumber's trick. Take a full bucket of water and we're going to dump it in rapidly, and that will cause a siphoning effect and leave the water level in the toilet bowl lower than the trap. There you have it. It is almost empty. The water level is about there. And that's all we need. Now on both sides of the bottom of the toilet we have these bolts, and they come off next. Most toilets, you'll have a cap over top of this. This one was never finished, so you'll probably have to remove your cap. It should just pull off or twist off. Counterclockwise with the nut. Save those to reuse. And the same on the other side. So now have your coffee cup ready, and then get your garbage bag and just hold the edges up. We're going to set the base of the toilet in this. Try to keep it as large of an opening as possible. So now that's wider than the base of the toilet. Now I'm simply going to lift the toilet straight up, come back and set it down in here. Would be a little easier with 2 people, but it can still be done with 1, as you can see. Now we'll just pull this up. Now you don't have to worry about spilling any water when you move it, ideally to a shower pan or elsewhere. That's plumber's trick number 2. Here's where the third plumber's trick comes in. We take our coffee cup, put that in the flange. Now we don't have to worry about sewer gases. Time to replace the old wax ring. Here's how. To scrape the old wax off, use a putty knife. In preparation for installing the wax ring, you can make it more pliable by setting it in water slightly warmer than room temperature. So before we install our wax ring and install our toilet, we want to address the flange. And what you're looking for is, ideally the flange will be on top of the finished floor, and ideally about 1/4 of an inch would be the height up from your finished floor. There are 3 scenarios with the flange that you might encounter. One is that it's below the finished floor. One is that it's possibly flush or very close to flush with the finished floor. And then ideally, as in this one, where it's above the finished floor and sits about 1/4 of an inch. So with each of those 3 scenarios, there's an ideal way forward. If it's below the finished floor, then you'd want to build it up to that 1/4 inch ideal level with a flange extension kit. If it's flush with the finished floor, Then what you could do is just get a jumbo wax ring, and you can see that they are thicker, maybe 50% thicker than your normal wax ring. And that will give you that extra amount that you need to make a good contact with the toilet, the base of the toilet. And then if they're above the finished floor, that 1/4 inch like this one, then you could just use a regular wax ring. Now you might think, well, just to be safe, even if my flange is raised up on my finished floor, I'll still use the jumbo, and then I've got lots of wax and everything will be great. But that's actually detrimental, because all that extra wax has to go somewhere, and it can crush in and sort of encroach on the opening, and you don't want to shrink that down, obviously. So just about time to put the toilet on. Before we do, though, 2 more things. Of course, we've got the wax ring and we've got these bolts. Now these Johnny bolts should be at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And you can eye it up. I like to take the extra and make sure that they're perfectly parallel and centered. Oh, actually, they're sitting in a pretty good spot there. Once we're ready for the toilet to go on, we can remove the garbage bag. That bucket trick works so well. You can see that's all the water that spilled out of that toilet from all that movement. That's not too bad at all. And I just want to check to see if there's any wax that needs removing from the old ring. Don't drop it now. That would be a bad idea. Now it's time to put the warmed wax ring on. You can see, once again, all the old wax is taken off. The bolts are in place, and also put on some plastic washers that kind of clip over the threads, and that just helps to keep the bolts perfectly straight so that you can drop the toilet straight down, which is what you want to do. So this wax ring has the little sleeve, or its own little flange that goes down into here. So we'll set that in place. Now time to install the toilet. You want to drop the toilet straight down using your bolts as guides. Okay. To help compress the wax ring, use a slight twisting motion. Alright, I'm going to drop this straight down and then sit on it. Okay, my bolts are straight up and down. That's a good sign that I lined it up well. Now I just want to double check that it's lined up parallel with my walls. I don't want it to be on an angle either way. I don't have OCD except for when it comes to this sort of thing. It's actually just about perfect. So now we put on our plastic washer first, our brass washer, and our bolt. Most toilets will have this kind of attachment. They might be a little more sophisticated, in which case you'll need to check your manual. Do that on both sides. And tighten that down clockwise. Careful not to over tighten. You don't want to shatter your ceramic. I don't like to tighten it all the way. Go back and forth between the sides so that you're making sure to apply even pressure. Once you see the brass washer starting to buckle, that's a good indication that you're pretty tight. Just starting to get snug. Just make sure that she's in place. It won't move. So I think they're tight enough there. Give a little 1/4 turn extra. Careful, that's where you get in trouble. Next, saw the Johnny bolts down. We can clean that up and then put our cap on. Alright, now we can attach our feed line. It doesn't actually need Teflon tape. There's a compression washer. And then you can start, no, boy, there we go. Use a crescent wrench or 15 mil. Turn the water on and check for leaks around the connection. Put the lid back on and give it a flush. Check for water around the base. Could come out the back, sides, front, and at this point you could put some caulking around the outside of the toilet if you want. If you do, what I recommend is just leave a little gap in the front, a little tiny gap in the front, and a little tiny gap in the back. That way if it does start leaking, you will know. And you are done. Time for a coffee.